what I term real actors.
The depiction of violence on the show is sometimes quite sort of pantomime-esque, and then sometimes it was really quite graphic. What did you think about the depiction of violence in the show?
My problem was it never went far enough, in as much as you could have the shit punched out of you and be at breakfast the next morning. And I used to actually, and that was convenience, like it was continuity of bruising, all of that. Who wants to know? And when you're shooting fast television. But I must admit, I used to fight for, if Myra got kicked in the ribs, I would act broken ribs for about 3 weeks. Because that worried me, that it was a bit cartoonish. It's that thing that kids pick up a gun and go bang. Because they're just brought up on they don't see the follow through of violence. And I actually thought it was terribly important that you follow through on the violence. But sometimes it was glossed over a bit. But I used to insist on having bruises and blood noses for ages.
And of course, your exit from the show, you were shot by a terrorist, which was a pretty extreme storyline. What happened there?
I'd actually asked for more money, you see. Our contracts were up for renewal. And Betty Bobbitt had left. And I knew that Betty had been in the show longer than me, and she was entitled to more money than me. But when she left, I knew that I would cop a lot of her storylines, in the sense not due, but certain things. And I thought, no, my workload's going to increase here. And all I asked for was what Betty was on when she left, and they wouldn't give it to me. So I said, fine, bye-bye. And they then had to write me out. And I then found out, I don't know how true this is, but I found out that it actually cost them more to write me out than it would have to pay me the money for 6 months. Because by bringing in the terrorists, you had the helicopter, they had that plane at the airport. You have to have, when you've got guns on set, you have to have an armourer. And armourers don't come cheap. They're on a daily, they get more than the actors. They're on a daily rate. So there was an armourer there for something like 3 weeks, because for 3 weeks I think that storyline went on. There were guns. And the helicopter thing, I mean the cast alone, they brought in all these casts to get rid of Myra. So yeah, I actually found out that it would have been cheaper for them to pay me. But that's fate. It wasn't meant to be, because I finished Prisoner, and because I wasn't in Prisoner, I got this other job, which was a mini-series called The Harp in the South, which was then followed by Poor Man's Orange, 2 of the most joyous jobs I've ever done. So it's funny how my life's ruled by fate, It's funny that if they'd paid me the money, I would have stayed in Prisoner. I would have missed out on these other 2 jobs. Maybe professionally, I would have been more limited. But the fact that I went straight from Prisoner into a stage show and then into these 2 mini-series, I was able to shake off very quickly the Myra Desmond to a certain extent. So in that way, I was very lucky they wouldn't pay for me.
And you're selling out the bang.
Oh yes. Should I disappoint the fans and tell them about something that happened on that last day? Most of the dead body stuff, when Myra's actually dead, I'd finished all my scenes, all my talkie scenes, and because we a lot of the time shot in sequence, like you'd shoot all the dining room scenes but you'd actually shoot them in sequence. So of course all that was in that rec room thing, and Myra gets the bullet in the head and hit the ground, and it's like, whoopie-doo, I got no more lines. And I actually wanted to go to my own funeral. I wanted to go to Myra's funeral, dressed up in a wig in the background. And they were going to be in it. The crew were in it, and they said, yeah, and the wardrobe were in it. We can get a blonde wig and all that and glass, and we can just have you way over in the tree, And only people in the know. As it turned out, I got a voiceover or something the day they were shooting the funeral, and I couldn't do it. But on the day, when I'm lying on the floor, when the body, Myra's dead on the floor, and everyone's, acting around her and crying, they'd put a blanket over me. So what I actually had on was my, whatever top I was wearing, the shirt, and then I had black mesh, I had a suspender belt, black mesh stockings, and the highest follow me home and fuck me shoes in the world. And I lay there all day, and they shot me from there up. So that you've got all these actors going, and they're all doing all this heavy, dramatic acting, and I'm lying there, knowing that they know I've got all this silly clothes on and they're trying to act seriously. I had a ball.
So by having Myra killed off, did that make it easier for you to then go on to other work? Were you then not typecast for future roles?
I think because of the fact that I was able to go almost, not straight, I mean I had quite a few months out of work, but when I played Mama in The Harp and the South and Poor Man's Orange, if anything was going to say, okay, she can play other roles, it was that, because I mean that role was just, the opposite ends of the earth to Myra. So, I mean, people within the industry know, because we're actors, that's what we do. But unfortunately, you're usually only as good as your last job, and you'd be amazed at how many people have no imagination whatsoever. So yeah, I was so lucky to go from one high-profile job that 12 months later I was in another high-profile job on telly that was the opposite. So yeah, that was good.
You now devote a lot of your time to charity projects. Can you tell us a bit about what you do there?
I've done a lot of work for AIDS charities. In fact, I was on the organising committee that arranged the big prisoner 21st birthday reunion party that I'm sure a lot in this video will have been there. And we had people out from England and Europe and everywhere. And that was specifically arranged as a money-raising event for Oz Showbiz Cares Equity Fights AIDS, which is, I'm on a committee for that, and it's an entertainment industry-based money-raising. We raise awareness, raise the roof, and raise money. And we have we do things called Hats Off, which is an annual concert now. We're talking the cream of Australian musical theatre, and they just jump at it. People actually want to be in the concerts now because not only do we raise a lot of money, but it's such a high standard. So yeah, and I've done a lot of work this year. I'm now the patron, which is what this little badge here is, of, and can I hold this up? I brought this along. Isn't that gorgeous? That's the new symbol for positive women in Victoria, of which I'm the patron. And that came about after the prisoner party.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Half of the proceeds of that day that evening, went to positive women because we wanted it to go to an AIDS charity that was connected with women, for obvious reasons. So we got to know them, and they've been around for about 8 years but haven't had the profile. And then they said, right, will I be the patron? And I was just so honoured, and I said yes. And they are the most amazing bunch of positive women. And they just make me feel so humble and useful and gorgeous. And we've just had our first major event on World AIDS Day this year, and this was the new symbol for the positive women. And we had 500 people on the steps of Parliament House saying that, this virus doesn't, it doesn't discriminate, and neither should people.